Just as every consumer has a common objective, maximizing their happiness, every producer also has a common objective, maximizing their profits. When I mean producers, I mean firms. Firms are organizations owned by private individuals who specialize in production. Production is the process of transforming production inputs into goods and services. Production inputs are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. The change of each input decides the amount of the outputs. It specifies the maximum output that can be produced with a given quantity of inputs. This is called the production function. Time is also an important consideration in production. It can be either a long-run production time frame or a short-run production time frame. In a long-run production time frame, there exists a time frame in which the producers can change all of the amounts of the factors of the production, while the short-run production time frame, only some or at least one of the firm's production input is fixed. You might be wondering, how long or short is a long and short-run production time frame? We really cannot say that a short-run production time frame only lasts for 3 days or say that a long-run production is only a year, because different goods and services requires different materials and other factors to produce, so it really depends on where the industry your goods and services belong. So, we already know the basic terms that make up producer's theory. But to make it simple, producer's theory is concerned with the behavior of the firms in hiring and combining productive inputs to supply commodities at appropriate prices. But before we can figure out the appropriate prices, we need to understand first the production. Let's look at an example. Elon loves bread, so he wants to produce delicious breads for the consumers. However, Elon does not want to work. He thinks he would be better off as a supervisor. So right now, Elon has his land, shop built, ingredients and equipment to make the bread, some tables, and a cash register. But first, Elon needs to determine the total product. He can do this by using this formula. To get some production, Elon needs to hire some workers. He currently has 0 employees. With 0 workers, he gets 0 production in number of trays. So Elon decides to hire his first employee, who can produce 8 trays of bread in a given time period. But how can we increase the total output? Elon needs to hire more employees. So he hires a second, fourth, and a third employee. Together, they can produce 60 trays of bread. He notices the increase of production, so he hires a 6th employee. Together, they produce 65 trays. But note, when I hire 6 to the team, Elon still gets more output, but not as a large as a boost like when I hired the 3rd. However, since my output is still rising, he will continue to hire more employees. An issue arises when I hire my 7th employee. Together, they still produce 65 trays of bread in a given time period. However, this does not mean that the 7th employee lacks the skills, because Elon only hires the best, but rather the fact that he have been hiring more and more employees but have not acquired more of the non-labor resources like ovens, working areas, and tools. Now that I have bought 7 in, there isn't enough equipment for each employee to have his or her own supplies, so they will have to share. This causes overcrowding, which tends up to slow down the production process, and will continue to do so as he adds more employees. This observation is called the law of marginal returns. This means that there must be an optimal number of inputs that we can use to achieve some desired outputs, or known as the law of diminishing returns. Second, Elon needs to compute for the marginal product, which is the total product per labor hired. We can compute the MP using this formula. For example, the change of product for 1 and 2 is 12, and the change of labor is 1. So when Elon hired worker 2, his marginal product is 12. When applying this to all of the employees, we get these values. Lastly, Elon needs to compute for his average product, which is the average output per worker. We can compute for the A with this formula. When Elon hired his second worker, his total product is 20, produced by 2 employees. So 20 divided by 2 is 10. 10 is Elon's average product when he hired employee 2. Applying this to all of the amount, we get these values. Now, Elon has the total product, marginal product, and average product. With this, he can now make his product schedules and bread production. Placing the production at stage 1 is not ideal, since the productive capacity of the fixed inputs can still be taken advantage when it decides to increase more of the variable input, which in this case is the labor. Ending the production at stage 3 is also not wise for the firm, as it already starts wasting production inputs as outputs are already declining. Therefore, we can say that the desirable number of laborers that would maximize output must be found at the second stage. But where is it exactly found, and what conditions must be met in order for the firms to maximize output? To know that, we must find the number of laborers that will give the firm the highest output. In this case above, this is when output is at 65 trays of bread. However, both 6 and 7 workers can produce this output level. What will be our wisest choice? Our next criteria will be the marginal product. The marginal product must be positive. Thus, the ideal number of workers in Elon's bakery must be 6. In conclusion, the optimal number of laborers is determined by 2 conditions. First, output must be at the maximum. And second, marginal product must be positive. With this information, Elon can now successfully start his bake shop.